recording is on now. And so, yeah, if you don't know me, my name is Rosemary, and I'm the founder of Shetribe. Last year, we did a challenge. So, Shetribe is a sisterhood community for women of color. And we really just want to empower women to come together, grow, learn together, and be successful together. And last year, we hosted a 100 days challenge to help each other end the year well and prepare for a wonderful new year. And this year we decided to do it again, shorter this time, not 100 days, because I know how hard it is to commit to 100 days, but we thought 1 month. And to start off perfectly, we decided to start with the topic of time management and productivity because, well, we all know how we could learn more about that. So before talking too much, I'll just give the floor to Sade, who's joining us all the way from Georgia, from America, one of the deciding states for the last election. And yeah, she'll explain all about, who she is and, what this challenge was about, her expertise and everything. So on to you, Sade.
Thanks, Rosemary. Hi, everyone. Like Rosemary said it, I feel really excited to be here, especially in such an international crowd. I always think it's so amazing that the internet can connect me to people all around the world. Like, I think I have more friends around the world than I do in like the US. So it's great. So my name is Sade. I was born and raised in New York City, but I recently moved to Atlanta, Georgia, which is funny because this is the first time in 30 years that this state turned blue. So I don't know if that's anything to me with me living here or not, but yeah, it's kind of funny. So I used to work in advertising in the corporate world. I worked there for about 6 years. And then in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, I decided to quit my job and go full on with my passions. I had been side hustling and working on the side for so long on my blog, which I've grown pretty large. And then I decided I wanted to do time management coaching. So that's what I do now. I'm a time management coach as well as a content creator. And my brand is called The Fire Inside. And my mission is to help people ignite the fire inside of them. So, as a time management coach, through all my services, I specifically help ambitious people, preferably women and women of color, but I help ambitious people in general manage their time more efficiently so that they can pursue and monetize their passion just like I have, as well as navigate their wellness and their personal development. Because what people fail to realize is time management is holistic. It's not just being productive at work, but it's having productivity throughout your entire life. So, I'm very excited to be here. And I know some of you did the challenge, some of you didn't. I would love to take any questions that you have if you did do the challenge, or even if you didn't do the challenge, if you have questions about productivity, I'd love to answer whatever I can.
Thank you for that introduction. So, ladies, if you do have a question, just let me know. Make sure you can unmute yourself and then ask your question. But just to get everyone in the pool, whether you have done the challenge or not, I know that time management is a difficult topic for many of us. We want to get so much done, but we struggle keeping up with everything with our to do, our never ending to do. Please unmute yourself if you just joined. Um, so I can mute you. Did I hear someone? All right. And I know most people always ask me, how do you get everything done? You have a full-time job, you have two kids, a third one on the way, you have a business. How do you get that done? So I consider myself quite on top of things, but I must say, Sade, you're just la crème de la crème. I've learned so much in this 1 week of challenge that I know that if any of you feel like you've been struggling, at the end of the day, it's just about getting the things done. So one of my, I would start with a question from mine is, you talked a lot about time logging, and I wanted to know if this is something you do daily or if this is something you just do once in a while.
So for me personally, I do time blocking during the week. And on the weekends, I'm a little more free with my time. I always still set 3 goals for the day. So that's something I do every day. But on the weekends, I'll set my 3 goals and kind of let myself do it when I want to. But on the weekdays, I actually do time blocking. Most people do it digitally, which is a great way. I've seen it work for a lot of people, but I actually write it down. So I'll actually will show you guys because I have it here. But if you can see it, I actually have a planner that has all of the times of the day. Can you see it? Times of the day there, right here. And I usually fill that in. So that's like what I do for time blocking. I will put in the time I want to wake up, when I want to do my morning routine, when I want to start my first task, when I want to take a break, when I want to eat lunch. Like it's very detailed, which may sound pretty rigid. I know when I first go through time blocking with people, they're like, "Oh, you're so like rigid," but I think it makes you the most productive. Like a lot of people think they write a to-do list. Like I mentioned the challenge, a lot of people write a to-do list and then they have like 20 things on their list. I see my fiance do this all the time, and I'm still constantly helping him with his time management. But he'll write 20 things down, and then I go, "Okay, did you time block it?" And he'll say, "Well, no, I don't want to time block it." And I ask him why. It's because he knows he literally cannot fit in those 20 things. And so for some of us, we don't want to accept that defeat. Well, it's not really defeat, but we don't want to accept that we can't get 20 things done because we, in our heads, we think we can. But realistically, we all have 24 hours. And if we can't get those 20 things done in 24 hours, that's okay. If you can get 3 huge things done, you'll make more progress over time, getting three huge things done every day for like a month versus trying to get 20 things done in a day. And then you're burnt out and you don't do anything for the rest of the month. So it's all about consistency in cutting things down into sizable time chunks so that you actually get them done. And that's where you'll start to see your productivity take a huge change and be much better.
I love that. I love that. And I think for me, what I call those is my MIT. So my most important tasks of the day. And I do that, those 3 things. I decide, okay, what are the things that I need to do to make me feel like I'm successful at the end of the day? And so I try to do that. But one of the tips that you gave us during the challenge was the app Toggle. I follow all these things, and I try to use tech as much as I can. And I'm also a paper and pen type of person, but I really, really love that. And is that something you also do on a regular basis, or that's something you would advise people to just do in the beginning when they're starting, just to figure out um, what they spend their day doing, basically?
So that's something I do as a self-reflection exercise anytime I feel like my time is a little off or it can be better. But I recommend everyone do that if they don't have any type of time management strategy, or if they just feel they're not getting what they want to get done in a day. They should start using Toggle, or you can physically write it out if you want. Some people like to do that. I have clients do that all the time where they'll write out everything they do and take inventory of their day for a week. I think if you do it for a day or two, like I think I mentioned in the challenge, if you do it for a day or two, you'll see some things. You'll get a gist of like what's going on in your day. But if you do it for over a week or like 2 weeks or even a month, you'll really see your gaps and you'll see your patterns. And what that does is highlight what you're doing wrong so that you can fix it. So I love using apps like Toggle, especially because you can use it on your phone, you can use it on your desktop, and you can always be tracking your projects really easily. So I would recommend it though. Anytime you feel like you're a little off with your time, do a time tracker. Because what I've noticed, it's so funny when I talk to clients and I ask them, "Oh, how do you spend your day?" Their idea of their day versus what's on their time tracker is literally like night and day. And it's so funny how in our heads we think we're getting all these things done. Meanwhile, the proof is there on paper and it doesn't say that we got all those things done, which is okay. That's a part of the process. So that's why I love assigning that type of task, because doing that type of inventory always is going to, enlighten you in some way.
Mhm. I love that. I'm actually, the reason why I'm asking some of the questions, because I got questions sent by people ahead, and also things that I hear all the time. So definitely, ladies, if you just joined, as we were talking, obviously we're here for time management and productivity with our coach Sade, who's giving us all the gist about it. You can still do the challenge, so don't worry about it. But definitely ask your questions. What are the things you're mostly struggling with getting done for the day? Because I feel like most, especially women, feel like, wow, I have to do so much. I just don't know where to start. What would be your advice for that?
So I'll briefly take you through an exercise that I do when setting priorities. So the first thing I would say to identify is what's important and what's urgent for you in your life. So what's important meaning what tasks you need to get done that ties to your main goal. So some people hear important and urgent and think, okay, well, I have to answer this email. It's super important and my boss needs me to do it. But is that important for your goals? Because if it's not, then I would say it's not important and urgent. Oh, sorry, I thought I was gonna sneeze. Okay. Um, but I would say, okay, what's important and urgent? And then next I would say what's excuse me. I would say what's Thank you. I would say after you determine what's important and urgent, I would then go and determine what's urgent but not important. So a lot of those tasks are busy tasks, like if you have to do laundry or if you have to do, something around the house. Like those things are urgent, but they're not necessarily very important. I would put those in the second tier of priorities. And then your third tier of priorities are things that are important to you, but they're not necessarily urgent. So they can be taken care of a little later in your week, let's say. And then the fourth tier would be stuff that's urgent and stuff that's not urgent, not important. Yeah, the Eisenhower Matrix, pretty much. So something that's not important and not urgent is the task that you should really delegate or you should try to not get done in the day. Those are like the bottom tier of tasks. So I would always say start with those most important tasks, those most urgent tasks, and put them first. And if you realize that you have like 5 of those for the day, then stop yourself there, attempt to get those 5 done, and then move the other task to another day. So I always say try not to have more than 7 to dos, but I think having your main 3 goals is like the best way to start, because a lot of people get overwhelmed because, like you said, they have so many things to do, they don't know what to choose. So if you go back into your list and just circle things and then decide, just make the decision. I think as women, we are so indecisive, like that it really holds us back. Like once you make a decision, I read this quote one time. It was like, make a decision and there really is no right or wrong. Like we overthink it. There really is no right or wrong. No matter what happens, we're going to adapt somehow, and we're going to find a way to do what we have to do next. Like everything is in a flow. So if you just make a decision and decide and then just go from there, don't question the decision, be confident in that decision, go after it. And then whatever happens next, and you just keep going. Don't think about making the right decision, because that's another thing that makes people procrastinate. They're trying to figure out, I have to do it so perfect. I have to do it so right. If I mess up, it's the end of the world. And it's like, you learn so much from making those mistakes than you learn from trying to be perfect. And there's these people, like, oh, I have a friend that's like this. She's like so into learning that she'll learn everything and take no action. So if you're learning everything and you're not applying it, you're not going to go anywhere. So don't be afraid to like take action before you're ready. So along with the answer to say, set those priorities and then just go from there.
Exactly. And the thing is, when you hear it, it sounds so simple, but for most people, it's like, oh my God, but even just writing that list. And I'm a huge fan of writing lists. Like I have a list for everything. Like I have notepads everywhere. I write on my phone. I write everywhere. And I think the hardest task for people is to just sit down and write those things. Just put it down. What do you need to have done? And as you said, then split it up. And I gave the example when I also did a masterclass about this topic, is that when I go to work, so my corporate job, I actually have a list, like a A4, and I actually do the Eisenhower Matrix. And I just write down, okay, this goes here, this goes here, this goes there. And that's what I keep on my desk for the whole week. And if anything else comes up, I try to see where does that fit. And if it doesn't fit on the list, well, that's just not going to happen, I guess. And I think for a lot of people, um, we tend to have difficulty defining what is important versus urgent. You're thinking, okay, what is that? And something that really helped me for my corporate job, as I say, is emails are important tasks, important for other people. So people are asking you to do things for them. That's how you know it's not important. Most of the time, it's urgent for them, but not for you. So obviously, you really have to, you can scroll through your email and see, okay, whose name is popping up, and you're like, oh, that I need that. But most people that write in caps and say it's important and it's urgent, it never is. It really never is. So I never check my mails, at least for work in the morning, because if I do, I end up doing things for people versus what I need to do for my day. So, and that's something that works for my corporate work, I would say. But I think if you look at your own life and think about what are the 3 things, as Sade said, that you can do today, and start with that. Like I like to eat my frog, as they say, do it in the morning or before noon, because I know that if I don't, it's not going to happen. But everyone has a different way of working. Some people like to work late at night. Some people like to work early in the morning. But that's, I guess, a skill that you can learn, but you have to force yourself. It's that first step that feels like an impossible task. But yeah, I'm going to quickly go through here. Ladies, don't be shy. If you have a question, either you can speak, you can unmute yourself and ask. If you're not comfortable speaking, feel free to put it in the chat. Then I'm checking the chat as we're speaking. And then I can just read it out loud, or you can ask it in French or any other language that I do speak. No Portuguese, please. I don't understand that. But, but if it's French or Dutch, whatever, just text it in, put it in the chat. One question I wanted to ask you, Sade, is about, because people tend to think that people who are good at time management and productivity means that they've always been super organized and they've always, like they were born this way. I know for a fact that in my case, that's not it. I don't think I was born this way. There's something I had to learn. And so for most people, like, oh my God, Rose is super organized. She's just does this way, but it's not. How did you, were you born this way? How did you become this productivity queen?
So I was definitely not born this way. I would say that I don't want to throw my mom under the bus, but she was late to everything. And I think growing up with someone who was always late, I started to become that kid who wanted to be on time to everything because I didn't like feeling embarrassed in a way. So I guess early on, I knew, okay, I need to be better at this because I don't like being the always late person. I don't like it. I think it's a waste of our own time. So early on, I knew I had a glimpse of what I wanted to be, but I did live with someone for 18 years of my life who was always late. So that definitely influenced me. And then in college, I got very organized. Even in high school, I was always a good student. So I was pretty organized when it came to schoolwork. But outside of schoolwork, I would say I wasn't super organized, but I wasn't like a mess. And then in college, I got very organized because I had 2 jobs and on campus, as well as I also was a leader of like 3 clubs. I can't even remember the name of them now, but because I was a leader of so many things, and I worked and I went to class and I went to school hours away from where I grew up. So I had all that responsibility. I had to figure out a way to be organized. And that's when I got very into planners and that organization started to come about. And then I also had internships and I worked in advertising and I was an account executive in advertising. So I was managing full on these huge marketing campaigns, these huge budgets for these huge clients. And it was nerve wracking. I knew I had to be super organized if I was going to make it. Like I'm sure many of you who work in corporate know that you have to be very on your stuff if you want to, get promoted. So I think that really pushed me and made me really good at project management. And I didn't notice I was so good at time management until I would hang out with my friends actually and realize how bad they were. And they would always ask me for advice. And when I worked with a business coach and she helped me identify those parts of me. And that's why I decided to go with time management because it's something that a lot of people struggle with that I honestly thought came natural to a lot of people. But I realized that it didn't. And there's a niche for this. And not a lot of people are teaching it or, specializing just in that. So I saw it as a great market to get into. So that's how I'm here now.
Amazing. I
Thank you.
think, yeah, it's good for others to hear because I think when they see people, they think, oh, this just comes naturally to them, but they forget that something probably forced you. For you, it was your mom always being late everywhere and you wanted to, that embarrassment, you're like, okay, I just don't want to go through this anymore. And I think probably something that is innate to people who kind of push themselves to do that is that a little bit of overachievement. Like I could sense a little bit of that as you're talking, and I can recognize myself in that. Most people who are good at time management always have a lot of things going on in their lives. And I could hear as you were a student how busy you were already. I could see myself in that definitely. I think that it's almost, I want to tell to others who are like, I want to be involved in this and I want to do this and that. There's no way you can handle all of that if you don't start to organize yourself. And it shouldn't take too much, just little things, such as some of the tips that she gave already. Welcome to those of you who just joined. I see Haja just joined. Carissa just joined also as we were speaking. Ladies, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. If you have any questions, something you're struggling with getting things done, this is your chance. We've had a session in the past, I think, but not all of you were there. The challenge is still going on. You can still join, even if you missed last week. You can have the access to it and ask your question as we're spending some time with Sade here, all the way from Georgia. What I wanted to ask you something and I forgot. what is, according to you, the main thing, the main reason why people just don't get organized? Like, you've worked with different type of clients, young and old, people, I guess, in the corporate world, and also people who are just starting their business. What is the main reason why people just can't seem to do this on their own?
Accountability. So what a lot of people do, so I love to work with people who have attempted to get organized. I think I've noticed from working with people who were not organized at all that it was a huge of a learning curve for them to go through my program. I do work with those people, but my ideal client is someone who's tried and but hasn't been able to do it consistently. So what I've noticed with those people is that they'll read, books, they'll watch YouTube. Everyone talks about the morning routine videos that they've watched or how they try to mimic somebody else's schedule. And so many people are trying to basically live somebody else's life. Like, that's where they failed, trying to do what they've seen online and then also not having someone to check in with them. Those are two factors that seem to be the biggest ones. And I've noticed that once someone has accountability, their chances of actually being consistent jumps up to like 91%. But the studies show that if you don't have anyone accountable for you, your consistency drops down to 35%. So just having someone who literally just check in and say, okay, did you do your to-do list? Skyrockets what you get done, because a lot of times, especially as women, when we have someone else that's counting on us, we're more inclined to get it done. Whereas when it's just for us, sadly, we'll just lie to ourselves or we won't get it done. So I'm sure many of you can relate to that. So there probably is something that been wanting to get done, but you haven't told anyone. So that may be why you're not actually getting it done. And what I specialize in is holding you accountable through my group coaching programs, or I work with clients one-on-one.
I love that you said accountability. And I think that's that's actually the main reason why I organized the challenge last year and this year, because I feel like, as you said, we want to have we want to do things, we want to change certain habits, we want to learn new things, but we don't tell anyone. So no one can hold us accountable. Or we do, but then it's like, yeah, I've done it, I'm too tired. We start making excuses. And by doing it together, and sharing it with each other, you're like, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And when you have a down day, you could just tell someone, you know what, I said I was going to do this, but I only did this. So I love that. But going on to Kaja, did you want to ask a question? I just saw you pop on my screen. You're muted. I think you'll have to mute yourself. Did you want to say something? All of a sudden you popped on the screen.
No, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead with the passionate talk. Thank you.
Oh, you're mute.
Haha, on me. This is a great time for you to tell us a bit about how you work with people. So because you said for your group coaching, but I know you also do one-on-one. How do you normally work with people? Could you tell us a bit about that?
So I offer 8-week programs. And first, how I initially go about it is I like to do a free strategy session. So I offer free strategy sessions to anyone, but typically through that session, we're going to go over how you're currently spending your time, what your current struggles are, and where you want to be spending your time. So that way, I like to get a really deep understanding of the problem and possible solutions. And at the end of the call, no matter if you work with me or not, I always provide advice on how you can spend your day better. So it's really a great win call for anyone. But if I do feel like you're a great fit for me and makes sense for the program, then I go ahead and encourage you to join either one-on-one or the group. My group programs are very intimate. They're usually 5 people or less. I do that purposely because the program is completely customized to help you solve your specific needs. And I like to put people who are very similar together so that we can get the maximum effect and accountability of even more people in a group. And then the one-on-one is completely customized. Every week, it's just me and that one person meeting. And I do all of my meetings virtually so I can meet with anyone around the world. as well as my meetings are an hour to an hour and a half. So each week you're meeting with me for an hour and a half, and I'm also checking in with you and keeping in contact with you via our Slack group or via text message. So you really have full on accountability throughout the whole process. And in the beginning, but my favorite part is setting all the goals. So even my most recent client, we set 8 goals, and she listing her goals out, she was so nervous and scared that she wouldn't be able to get these goals done. And by the end of the time, in the 2 months, she got all 8 of her goals done. These are goals she's been trying to get done all 2020 that she got done in 2 months working with me. So I say that because you seriously will see a transformation, because that is my main goal, is to help you start to, if you haven't been working on your passions, I'm going to get you to start doing them. If you haven't been prioritizing your fitness or eating well, I'm going to get you there. If you haven't been taking self-care time and time to even just rest or hang out with your friends, or, well, we're in a pandemic, but time to just, have that self-care, I'm going to help you get there. So I take whatever you literally desire in your life. And I've had people, tell me deep things, and we really connect. Like I'm so open and vulnerable that, I get there with my clients, and I value that time, and I get to know you very well, and I make sure, and I'm rooting you along the way. So it's a very great program, obviously, because it's mine. No, I'm joking. But I do highly recommend, if you really do have issues with time management and you want accountability and to work with someone one-on-one who values your, what you're going through and what you want to achieve, that's exactly what I specialize in. And I love to work with women of color, especially. That's why I'm here with Shetribe, because I know that's what you guys are all about. And I also love to work with freelancers, side hustlers, as well as entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur myself, but I worked in corporate and I built a business while working. So I know that's a specific limited amount of time that a lot of people don't, that a lot of people might not resonate with, that I do. So if you guys have any questions or anything you want to talk about, I would love to chat further, but I'll also leave my link so that if anyone wants to get on a call with me, we can do that, because I'll offer all of you guys a free strategy session.
I was just about to ask that. If you could leave all the details in the chat, ladies, do
Yes.
take it. This is your chance to hop on a call with Sade. She said this is a no commitment call. You have nothing to
Yes.
lose. You have everything to gain. Someone who's a
Exactly.
specialist in this, who's gonna, listen to your struggles, give you some advice, and also share your Instagram handle so that
Yes.
people also follow you, because she shares highly valuable tips on her Instagram for free all the time. So,
Mhm.
as one of my coaches said, exhaust the free options out there. And most of us, well, not me, sorry, spend their time on Instagram scrolling, pages that really bring no value to them whatsoever. You better cut these things, girls. By the end of this year, remove those those people from your feed and follow people like Sade, who will be adding value to your life, sharing so much valuable content, and helping you get to that next level, because 2021 is about to get real. And we know how crazy this year was, and I know a lot of people felt like, oh my god, like this is the end of the world, what am I going to do, and felt like they were held back in their goals. But I can also say that there were lots of people who pivoted and were like, okay, let's get down to business. Like, what are we going to do about this year? How are we going to still, do better? And some did better. Some had an amazing year so far, and the year is not over yet. So everything is possible. Exhaust the free options out there, but also invest in your growth. Because, well, yeah, that's all that counts. So I don't know if there's more questions. I don't know why you ladies are being so shy. I know you've had questions about, time management and stuff. Don't be shy to ask your question. We're a family here. No one is going to judge you for, not being productive or, being a highly procrastinator. But we all know that there are things we say we're going to do, but just never happen. So if there's one thing that you're like, I just don't know how to get that done, this is your chance to ask. And yeah. So Sade, I don't know if there's any specific thing you also wanted to share about, how people, I know we talked a lot about just doing the important things of your day, but another thing that people struggle with a lot is procrastination, the ugly word. um, and people keep putting things off to tomorrow, to next year, to next month. due to many reasons, either being too perfectionist, or actually it comes just down to fear, but let's just put a label on it now. Could you tell us a little bit about that and how you help people with that? And, if you have some tips to share around that.
Sure. So, like you said, I talk a lot about procrastination on my Instagram because every time I poll my audience, it's like the most common thing that everyone deals with. So, it's very interesting that it's such a huge problem. And I get it because I used to procrastinate a lot. So, but I didn't know I was procrastinating. And I think some of you may relate to this, that I thought I was just really good at like I was that person who was really good at getting things done right before the deadline. I thought that was what motivated me. So I would literally, like, I could have a paper due at like 11 p.m. and I would start it at like 9 p.m., which is horrible. And it could be like a 10-page paper and I would still do it. I was that girl because I really thought I thrived in high urgency, stress environments. I thought that was what I did well in. See, yeah, I knew someone here who relates to that because it is such a common thing that many of us do. But what I realized was that why I was procrastinating was because I was also a recovering perfectionist, and I was so scared of not doing well, of doing it wrong, that I would procrastinate way into the last minute because I would dread it and I would overthink it in my head for so long. It would be all this pent up anxiety for no reason that I would create it in my head, and then I would get to work because I knew I had to get it done. So a good way to end that cycle of fear and anxiety is to get very clear on what you want to get done. So that's what I walk clients through. When they're procrastinating, it's probably because they have no idea what they really want and they don't have a clear set goal. A lot of times we have these goals, but they're not specific. They don't have a deadline, especially if you're not in school. If you're on your own and you're just like, oh, I want to start a business. Okay, when? What type of business? Who are you going to work with? What resources do you need to use? Like, there's so many questions. That's such a vague goal. Like, I when I see goals like that, the clients write goals like that down, and I'm like, okay, we need to unpack this, because your goal's not clear. That's why you haven't done anything. So the best way to stop procrastinating is to first get very clear on your goal, get that goal very specific. Next, do something very small. So I like to recommend that you look at one step at a time and don't look at the entire staircase. Because if you look at the entire staircase, like how I looked at that entire paper, I got nervous about it. But if I would have just did page one, as soon as I got it assigned, I would have been way better off and I would have finished it way ahead of time. So if you have something you're procrastinating on, literally just start with one little small task. Like, say you want to start a business, just go into Google and say, how do I start a business? And you could spend maybe time yourself for 20 minutes and look that up, do that research. If you start to get overwhelmed after 20 minutes, stop, do that again the next day. And I promise you, it sounds very small, but for someone to procrastinate, that's a huge step because you're starting to build that consistency. And the next thing you know, you'll be on day 5 looking up how to start a business. And then you'll realize, okay, I want to be a coach. Oh, and then you'll go deeper and deeper. And then, hey, maybe you'll end up being that coach in a month or two because you took the time to actually do the work. So procrastination is all about just taking action. If you're not taking action, it's because you're overthinking it. And a lot of times there's this rule. It's Mel Robbins. If you haven't heard of her, she's really great. And one of her 5-second rules is that if you count to 5 and then just take action on something, you'll get it done. But once you go past that 5-second mark, it's enough time for your brain to essentially talk you out of it. So we all have like this little switch that we can turn on. So let's say, you want to get out of bed, countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then just take action. Because the minute you don't take action and you get to 0, it's over. You waited too long, you talked yourself out of it. Now the 5 seconds has gone past. I didn't believe this rule, to be honest. I was like, oh, that's not true. But it actually is true. And I've tested it out on different things that I've procrastinated on, and it's been a really huge game changer. So I would say if you're procrastinating, take that small step and just go ahead and start there. Another tip I give is, if you haven't heard of the Pomodoro method, I actually talked about it this past week, because every Thursday on my Instagram, so if you guys follow me, my Instagram is Sade Jones _. I also put it in the chat. But every Thursday, I go ahead and share a time management tip completely for free, just because I want to help my audience. And this past week, I shared the Pomodoro method. And if you haven't heard of the Pomodoro method, there's this app called Focus Keeper, but there's a bunch of Pomodoro method apps if you want to download a different one. But what essentially it does is it helps you to get really focused on one task. So the Pomodoro method has you essentially pick one task that you want to start with, and then you set a timer for 25 minutes, and you just work on that task for 25 minutes, and that's the only thing you work on. And then after that, you take a 5-minute break. And then you do it again, and you do 25 minutes, and you can keep working on that task. And then you do 5-minute break, and you keep doing loops of that for 4 times. And then you go ahead and take like a longer break that's maybe 20 or 30 minutes. But what that does is help you really get zoned in and focused. So if you procrastinate, that's another way to get stuff done in really small chunks of time. So if you try either of those tips, I'm sure your procrastination will get better.
I love, 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 love. I get so excited about this topic because these are all the things that I learned back in the day that has changed my life. And I'm thinking there's so little, and yet people don't do it. And then they keep asking, how'd you get so much done? I'm like, come on, come on, just do it. And this 5-minute countdown you said, I imagine it as, when you're in a shower and you're like, taking a cold shower after a hot shower is really good, they say. But then it's like, are you crazy? I'm not gonna put cold water on myself. Just count 1, 2, and then you just do it. Or rope skipping. When you're a child and you're doing the double one and you're about to jump and you're like, okay, 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 and you just jump. It's basically just that. Just say, okay, I'm about to do this now. And I love the Pomodoro. I actually just put a link to one that I use at work. And I do this in the morning. And they say normally if you want to get really into some important tasks, depending on the length of the task that you have to do, 1 Pomodoro or 3, and every 3 ones for a big task, you stop. I tend to do for smaller tasks like writing emails and stuff like that, or taking calls, doing some sales calls or whatever. I time 2 or 1 Pomodoro, and then I take a walk. Especially now that I'm pregnant, I need to stand up more often for my back. So the Pomodoro, someone is asking what it is. Pomodoro is actually coming from that. It looks like a tomato. So people have that in their kitchen sometimes. That's how, it's like a kitchen timer. It looks like a tomato. And then you twist it and it's like tick, 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 tick. And it's 25 minutes if I'm not mistaken. And so a lot of people use that in the kitchen normally to cook. And Pomodoro is an Italian tomato. It's just tomato. But it's used a lot in time management and productivity because they say that most people can't focus for too long and get something done. So if you want to really zone in on something that you need to do without interruption, just use the Pomodoro. I'm not going to share my screen now, but maybe at the end, if we have a time, what it does is once you press on this link that I just shared, there will be a timer and it will start counting down for 25 minutes. And once it's done, it will tell you, toot, toot, it's done. And you can either reset it or, just stop, do something else and come back. Before I even had this timer thing, I just used on my phone. I put a timer, 25 minutes, it goes off. I have a timer also for 50 minutes at work. Now we're not going to the office anymore. And that was just to walk around. After every 50 minutes, I would get off my desk, just get a coffee, talk to a colleague. And this is really helping you if you're like, okay, I need to do this right now, but I know I'm going to be looking around on Instagram and blah, blah, blah. Just put the timer on and get things done within that time. 3 of those can get so much done. It's amazing. So these are little things that help. And Sade just also shared an app that helps a lot. There's so many free resources out there that can help you, but it's really about just using what's available. And I think one that I also learned was that if something takes less than 2 minutes, just do it immediately. And for me, that's with replying to some emails. Ooh, I used to hate that. It's like, oh, it's going to take me forever. I don't want to answer this email. But then I realized that if it's going to take less than 2 minutes, I could just do it right away and get it over and done with. I don't need to put that on my to-do, because we like to put things on our to-do and then it becomes like a list like this. Well, whereas we could just do some stuff right away and just remove it. So Haja, you're asking how to prioritize. Well, I think, and how to do it efficiently. Sade went over that a little bit, but I think you joined it later. I'll, let you go over that, maybe 2 easy ways to do that.
So yeah, I went over that, but it's okay that you asked it. Essentially, I would recommend the Eisenhower method. That's what I was explaining. But an easy way to just break that down is you first write out a whole list of everything you want to get done. And then after you have that entire list, go back and circle the things that are both important and urgent. So those things are the things that you want to get done first, and they're very important to whatever your goal is. So go ahead and just circle 3 of those things. I recommend 3. If they're 3 small things, actually, I recommend 3. Start there. If you get those 3 things done and you have more time to get things done after that, then go back and add on maybe another 3. But I think everyone should focus on 3 at first, because that's a good, safe number for most people, because that way you won't give yourself too many things to get done in one day. And then let's say you get those 3 things done and you go to sleep and you feel accomplished, then the next day pick another 3 off that list and just keep going and deciding on what's important and what's urgent. And eventually some of the tasks may not be important and urgent. And then from there, I was mentioning that you should pick tasks that are urgent and not necessarily important and get those tasks done, and then keep going down the line pretty much. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you so much for that. I will link more information about the Eisenhower Matrix as well. And if you want, Haja, there was a masterclass that I did in the past, which shows how to do that yourself, and you can look at it. But if you do some reading, there are great books about it as well. It's proven method, and it's very easy to use, and it will definitely help you. And I think what is important is also breaking down the big task, because there's no point putting on your important and urgent things like starting a business, because that's not going to happen it's not going to happen tomorrow or the day after. So what you put on that list are the little things that needs to be done in order to accomplish that big goal. So those are just tasks. So mainly the way I do it is I have huge big goals, just like a company would do. Like I have the 5-year plan, I have the 3-year plan, I have the yearly plan, I have the quarterly plan, I have the monthly plan, and then I have the daily, weekly, whatever thing. And so on that list would be what you would do daily or weekly, not what you need to do in a month or in the year or whatever. And in order to know what to put on that list is to know, okay, in order for me to reach that goal, what are the things that need to be done? So as she said earlier, starting that business, okay, what do I need to start a business maybe? So that Googling, that research, what are the requirements for me to start a business in wherever you are, Belgium, US, whatever, that's the first step. Second one would be maybe to call a business center to get more information. So those things are what you put on the list. And, based on what needs to be done before you can move to the next level will determine where you put it. And some coaches call it the needle movers. So what is actually going to bring you closer to that goal once it's accomplished? I think a lot of people are like, yeah, but that's important. That's important. No, what needs to happen before you're one step closer to that goal? That's how you know. And that's helped me a lot. And some others would say, what's going to bring you money, basically? If you're a business, that's what they would say. Like the needle movers are, what thing do you need to accomplish to actually get to that goal closer? Thank you, Karizad. Yes, I think you probably have to leave. That's why you're thanking us so much, or probably not, just thanking us. We thank you for being here as well. I don't know if you have any other question. I know you're a busy mom as well, who loved you were in part of one of our master classes about this. So I know this topic is very important to you. But thank you for joining as well. If there's any more questions, ladies, feel free. We're about to round up. I will share with you also the Eisenhower Matrix that I was talking about, the link. And you can scroll in the chat to see Sade's website, and also to schedule your free call that she said, you all have the chance to have this call with her. And her Instagram handle, there's a question.
Okay, perhaps you guys, it was not clearly written. I was just wondering, I guess there's a difference between time management and productivity management, even though it's correlated, right? And if when giving your when teaching and coaching and during your programs, what are your approaches when it comes to these two seemingly the same thing, but yet different?
That's a great question. So when I first was going to become a time management coach, I thought about being a productivity coach. And what I saw is if you're talking about productivity, you're just talking about how you can do things more efficiently. So that's essentially what productivity is. It's like doing things, single tasks more efficiently. But I'm not going to just teach you systems on how to do things quickly. I'm going to teach you how to holistically look at your day and your week and your month and your years and understand how to fit all parts of your life into that time. So I like to call it almost like life management. So I'm really coaching life management, but we're specializing in your time. Because I didn't want to get confused with a life coach. I'm not just broadly, helping you go through all like, I'm not like a therapist in a sense, but what I'm doing is helping you manage all the aspects of your life and find the time to contribute to all of them. So like a lot of people, when I first started working with them, they think that I'm going to just give them tips. I'll take an example. Like this woman I just worked with who got a job. She thought that I was just solely, that was her main goal, and she thought I was just only going to help her find time to apply for jobs. But that's not what we did. I helped her find time for breaks. I helped her find time for self-care. I helped her find time for her fitness. I helped her develop a morning and night routine that she actually enjoyed and loved waking up doing and doing every night. I helped her find time to talk to her guy that she was dating. Like she didn't even know how to fit that into her day. Like I go holistic on your life approach. I understand your complete life, and then we go through that part of time management. It's not just efficiency, which is what I think people assume productivity is. Because to me, rest is productivity. Because if you don't rest, how can you be productive, right? If you're not getting enough sleep. One of my first questions is usually how long are you sleeping? And if it's too short, I'm like, you shouldn't be sleeping for 5 hours. That's not something you should do on a regular basis. Let's increase that. And here's how. And people think, oh no, I have to be up longer because a lot of us have heard, I'm sure you guys have heard that, oh, we need to be up by 5 a.m. That's when all the great CEOs are up by. Not everyone needs to be up at 5 a.m. If you're a night person and you get really great work done at 5 a.m. and you may be working till late, there's no reason for you to be waking up at 5 a.m. and not getting enough sleep for the day. So that's why I say my program is very customized, and we really go through time management through the lens of a life management. So not so much just solely productivity.
Thank you for clarifying that indeed, because there's a lot of misconception. They work together, but it's not one or, it's not one or the other. And that's why at She Tribe, we believe that working with coaches who have also a holistic approach is the way to go, because that's how we like to work as well. And I love that you really customize it in a way to the needs of the clients, because everyone is different, and most times we feel like getting things done or being productive is about um, like just doing things, but not doing things is also about getting things done in a way, as you said, sleeping, taking care of yourself, and all of that. So that is really really important, and I thank you so much for the work that you do. Yeah, what else did I want to ask, ladies? Yeah, thank you. Everyone is loving your approach. You see, it's difficult. I think this is a topic that most people are almost embarrassed to admit that they have difficulty with, um, because it's like, oh, you're not doing enough. You're not doing enough, especially in these times of lockdown, where we have seemingly so much time on our hands. We want to get things done and end up feeling like we're not getting anything done. So I would say definitely use the chance that you have to have a call with Sade about this. If you want to get more of this, obviously, if you're not yet a member of our society, I would say, what are you waiting for, girls? Like, seriously, you get access to this and so much more, about the holistic approach. As we said, this is something that I'm passionate about, and that I also learned by joining other groups and working together with other women. Um, I don't know if there's any closing remarks you have, Sade, before we round up this hour. If there's anything you'd like to share with us.
Um, I would just like to share that, like you said, don't be embarrassed to get on these calls. And even if you don't feel like you're ready for a call, but you want to maybe chat with me, I'm very open to DMing. I'm not one of those people who doesn't answer DMs. So if you want to DM me, I voice note and DM with people all the time who may just have a couple more questions before they take even the initial call. But I would recommend to even do the initial call if you just want to assess how you're doing with your time management. Because I know a lot of us, we think we're doing okay, and then we realize, okay, I'm not really making the progress on the goals like I want to in the time frames I want to. That's a very common thing that I see a lot of times with the people that I work with, is that they're making progress, but it's so slow and they don't have a deadline. They feel like they're not, they don't feel fulfilled. So even if it's just you want to talk through that with someone, I'm very open to talking through those things. And then from there, we'll see if we're a good fit to work together. If not, I will always leave you with some type of gem. That I'm not the type of, like I said, there's no obligation. I really like to connect with people and help as many people as I can. And if you want to work together, of course, I would love to have any of you, if we're a great fit, to work together. So feel free to DM me or book a call with me. It's a completely free strategy session for 40 minutes. And I have very flexible times on there, so you should be able to find something that works for you. But I enjoyed talking with all of you today, and I hope you learned something. And thank you, Rosemary, for having me.
Was lovely, was lovely. Ladies, I just reposted again her Instagram handle. If you go through the chat, let me quickly, or maybe you could put it there again, Sade, for the call so people can use it to book the call with you. Those of you who are not in the challenge but would still love to join, I've put the link in there as well. That's just our website, shetribeconnect.com/end dash off dash year dash challenge. And if you're interested to learn more about the She Tribe membership, it's 21 euros a month. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, but it's definitely going to help you move the needle in the right direction in a holistic way. I'm looking forward to see you all in the challenge as we continue this week. And we will be talking about nutrition and how to have a healthy lifestyle. So that's also going to be a very interesting week as well. This is going to be, so if you sign up every day, you'll get new content, and at the end of the week you get access to the whole content, plus we'll have a Q&A next week Saturday with our next coach. Thank you very much, ladies, for joining. I hope you learned a lot. Thank you, Sade. It was a wonderful week. I know we will see each other again. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, have a lovely evening, afternoon, wherever you are, ladies. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.